Good day, guys. Just like I promised last week, we're gonna do Financier Biscuits this time. These are like muffins, but made with uh, flour and almond flour. They're much better than muffins, actually. Anyways, here's our prep. We're gonna start with icing sugar. We need 250 grams. As you can see, instead it's called confectioner's sugar. Now, if you don't have it, you can just grind a regular sugar to a powder. Try to get it as fine as you can, and so you don't have to buy actual sugar for it. Um, and it's almond flour, 100 grams. I highly recommend you buy almond flour because you can't get it really fine with uh, home grinders. We need flour and 208 grams of egg whites. Each egg has about 45 to 50 grams of egg. So I probably used around 7 eggs if I'm not mistaken. Um, you have to measure your eggs out. Depends on what size they are, if they're double A or single A. If you're in States, normally it's about 3 ounces. Anyways, make sure your eggs are room temperature. Mine wasn't, so that's why you see them. It's really hard to get egg whites out if they're not at room temp. Save your eggs. The other tip I can give you is like there might be a possibility that you might drop some egg yolks into your egg whites. A lot of egg yolks in your egg white might be a problem, but other than that, it's not really a problem. But in case you have some yolk in your egg, use an eggshell to pull it out. It just kind of tracks it. Next up, we have to do our brown butter. Some places calls it hazelnut butter too because it smells and tastes like hazelnut. Uh, so we're gonna do brown butter. Basically, take a pound, dice it up. We're gonna melt it just like ghee. Um, just once it's brown, just take it off and strain it. Don't leave this pan when you're doing brown butter. Make sure you're standing right next to the pan because the browning happens in an instant and it takes less than 2 seconds for it to ready to burn. Everything goes into a pan. Use a scraper, scrape off all the butter you can off the chopping board. I started on a low heat. You can dice it smaller. I just diced it into big chunks. Again, the point is to melt it. And the smaller you dice, the faster it will melt. But anyways, so there you see. That's what you want to see. Very brown. It literally took less than 5 seconds for it to go a little bit overdone. Mine was a little bit over. Strain it, and then we need 220 grams of it. Once you have your prep ready, we're gonna move on to our coffee. You need 3 tablespoons of instant coffee, 3 tablespoons of water. Make sure your water is cold. It could be milk as well. It could be any liquid really. And just get whisking. You'll see the coffee change color from dark to really light and then really pale. Once it's pale, that's what you want. Depends on what you like actually. Let me rephrase that. Once that's done, we're gonna set that up in the refrigeration until we have our biscuits ready. So sift everything out. Don't use a smaller sifter like I did. That's the only thing I had in the kitchen. Like I said, we opened 2 days before we were open, before the COVID. So didn't really get everything in house yet. So we're still trying to get stuff in. We're still doing our temporary menu, so to speak. Anyways, sift everything in, even your sugar. Uh, Sugar isn't that important to sift because it's really fine. But yeah, if you grinded your own sugar, I would definitely suggest you sift it all together. Mix everything up, make a well in the middle, throw your egg whites in, and fold it into your dry ingredients, and it will lump up first, and then it would kind of become a paste, and that's when you start adding your butter. So you need to add your butter a few ounces at a time. Don't go all in upfront, because there might be a possibility you might don't want all that butter in there. I'll show you when we get to it. So like I said, it will be lumpy at first, and then keep at it, and it will eventually look like that. Just like if you ever make macaroons, this is what your batter will look like. Anyways, so start pouring in your butter, little at a time. I usually go about half a cup at a time. You'll see it will change from like really lumpy to really runny as you add more butter into it. At the end of the process, you'll see where I dump a whole lot of butter. I mean, I had the butter already portioned out, so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to use it. But I was happy with the way batter came out at that time. So you can see how it's starting to look like a proper cake batter. So about at this time, I was like, yeah, I shouldn't add more butter. I mean, I like the way my batter looks and feels right now. But then I was like, I already have this butter, and I'm not going to use it anywhere else. So why not just use it all in here and see how it comes out. So the other tip I would give you is when you make pastries, always try out different things. Each oven works differently. Each oven has its own hot spots and cold spots. So if you change houses or get a new equipment, try out the recipe that you have, and then play around with how much portioning you need, how much time you need in the oven. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Sometimes a recipe calls for maybe, let's say, half a cup of a batter, and the cake doesn't come out right that time. And then, so don't be afraid to try a cup of batter rather than half a cup. You will always follow the recipe. I would suggest that. I should say that. Always follow the recipe, but always make more than you need. Alright, so into muffin tins, traditionally they're supposed to be rectangles. I mean, they're called biscuits. It's a biscuit from a European style biscuit, not American style. American style biscuit is completely different thing. If you've ever been to New Zealand or British territories, you'll know what biscuit means. So it's basically supposed to be rectangle, but I decided to use a muffin tin. That's what I used in Australia too. Anyway, so I put 2 tablespoons on one, and I filled up 3 rows of it. So in one row I did 2 tablespoons, and the next row I did 1 tablespoon, and on the third row I did half a tablespoon. So this way you can kind of experiment and see which one you like the most. I like them to be bigger. I mean, they're biscuits, obviously. They're supposed to be about 3 to 4 inches in length, traditionally. You can stuff them with anything. Could be any fruit. I did blueberries here. That's what we had on the bar. So I was like, yo, I'm gonna steal some of yours. And just portion it out. The other thing I made a mistake here is I could have portioned it out before I put everything in the refrigeration. But I was in a hurry, and I just made my batter and put it in there, and we had few orders to pull out. So here we are. I did 3, 2, and 1 blueberry just to tell me which one is how many tablespoons of batter. So we move on to the coffee. For the coffee, you want the milk to be scalding, not really boiling. Mine was a little bit over, but actually that came in handy. So again, use a piping bag. Don't do what I'm doing. It will make your life easier, or maybe make this coffee in, or whisk your coffee in, I should say, in a cup. Will make it easier to pour out the coffee mixture on top of the milk. Back in India, we used to do the other way around. We used to whisk everything in a cup, and then put the milk on top. It basically turns into a cappuccino at that time. Very similar to cappuccino. This is the other way around. So you put the milk on the bottom, then you put coffee on top, and you throw a little spoon on the side, and so that they can whisk it in. So here are my cakes after 10 minutes. As you can see, some of them are burnt. Obviously, that's what I meant by trying out to see how much is the batter that's perfect for your oven. For mine, it was 2 tablespoons. The burnt ones weren't that bad, so I decided to do another plate up with some coffee on them. Anyways, here's a plate up. 3 cakes, 3 biscuits might be too much. I could eat 10 of these, no problem. I have a sweet tooth. Anyways, let's hope you guys give this a try at home. And you guys hopefully would love this. Very easy to make. Um, they can stay, these are shelf stable about, I would say 4 days, 5 days maximum. They don't have to be refrigerated, they can stay outside. Make sure they are covered with a cloth though, and they're resting on a resting rack. Um, one of my favorite cakes to make. I made this up for a long time, very long time actually. It's been years. Anyways, I hope you guys give this a shot. Give it a try, and call us for food. Uh, Still doing takeouts. I'm thinking maybe December we go back to our world cuisine menu. We'll see. I haven't thought what we're gonna do exactly. But anyways, keep an eye out for next video. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, but I'll definitely figure something out. Again, just because we're doing Indian food, so it might be an Indian thing. Might do breakfast, but we'll get to it when we get to it. Cheers, stay safe.